and then you became a pop star.
I did, yeah.
Take me through how that transpired. I mean, how did you get involved in music and writing songs? And I mean, how did that just take off like it did?
Well, it was a very particular set of circumstances, right? I mean, on my end, I was just very musical my whole life. But that's like a zero. There's not a career. It's just a hobby, right? In places like this. So I had a natural tone. I could sing. I was part of this little choir in Mozambique. It would sing these Latin American songs, and they would give me a solo, right? Because I had that voice. And I remember though, it did transport me. That's probably the best way to describe it. When I would sing with other kids, and it I just loved it. It was the state of flow. Now I know it's the state of flow. At the time, it was like, man, I just can't wait. I could do this forever, right? That was sort of the feeling. But then it sort of goes into the background, especially if you go back, make another move. This was like my fifth move essentially, and I had to relearn everything. It's a new culture. I speak the language, but I can't write it. I can read it, but I can't write it. I have to adjust to this whole new world. The weather's cold, and we're back to a one-bedroom apartment. I slept in the kitchen, that kind of thing. And then, but as a kid, by now, I'm adjusting really quickly because I grew up adjusting, and I stopped doing music, but I started doing breakdancing in high school in Russia, and I got into it big time, and I became really good at it. And I was sort of in college already and doing that. It was like it's a very underground thing at the time. Like no one was doing it. It's still pre-fall of the Soviet Union, so very few people, very strange people, did that kind of thing. And eventually, I went to college. I was studying economics, and I didn't enjoy it. I wanted to do music, and then I started enjoying it, but I still wanted to do music. And then the Soviet Union fell apart, and that was sort of the window of opportunity because before that, everything in communist countries is ran top down. Like you can't just like they control everything. TV, radio. There's two or three channels, two or three radio channels. That's it, right? There's no free market avenue. So you have to be approved by the government. Okay, how do you get approved by the government? I have no idea. But then when the whole thing falls apart, it's complete and utter freedom, actual like true free market. So labels start popping up, nightclubs, shops, commerce, everything just floods the market. There's TV stations popping up. MTV shows up, in MTV Russia, and there's all this activity everywhere, including show business. And I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and I have some talent and some work ethic. So I started doing. I'm like, okay, this is my chance. I'm going to give it a try. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I can live out of a shoebox. I don't care, right? I don't have to eat much. I can try. So I started doing stuff that is very Western sounding, R&B, pop, hip hop mix, and I was good, and I looked exotic, and I could dance, I could sing, I could write, and it just got picked up. It got picked up. I started doing small clubs, then bigger clubs, then bigger avenues. By the end, I mean, it was so quick that by the end of year one, I had three record companies bidding to sign me. And I picked one, and then it sort of snowballed up. And I was on national television, radio. This is pre-internet, so you make it to channel one, and you're basically famous in 15 different countries because everybody watches the same stuff. You make it to the radio stations in heavy rotation, you become famous. That's it. It's that simple. So it was just a combination of factors.
Was that in '91? Was that or
91. I graduated in 91. I was on national television in 93.
'93? And so
Yeah.
'93, you had the song. Um, oh no, when did you come out with Our Generation? When did that come out?
Our generation came out late 95.
Late
Yeah.
'95, and that was the
Late 95.
that song went to number one
Yeah.
in Russia.
Yeah, so it was, yeah, because there were a number of songs that were already big hits. I was already famous, right? I had probably 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 hits before that. That was the 4th one. And this and then but it went so big because I think it just almost like it captured the pulse of a generation. It was so defiant and bold and, in your face. And there was a whole generation of people that were young people who were feeling it in the air. Freedom is in the air, right? So it was really a song about that. And also it was just a great dance song. Like it was just a sick beat, and people just loved it. And it was everywhere, every party, every kiosk, you know. So it went so big that eventually, yeah, the Boris Yeltsin team, they wanted they really wanted to rally the youth vote because they were losing to the communists. And their people contacted my management team, and they started using my song quite a bit. And then we campaigned as well. Like we went on tours. I went on television, a lot of television, just rallying the youth to vote for Boris Yeltsin because at the time he represented freedom and democracy.
I mean, so your song, and you were a big part of Yeltsin's victory. It seems.
I wouldn't say so. I would say a small part, yes,
Small
but not a
part.
big
Okay.
one.
Well, even
Yeah,
even
yeah.
so, I mean, you said your parents grew up communist. They were persecuted because they were
Hmm.
left leaning, and then you end up campaigning for somebody against the communists. How does that happen?
Well, reality. Reality cures you from ideas that are just flawed ideas, right? So, like, imagine. I mean, that's part of the reason why I wrote the book is that there's this sort of very naive notion that the only reason why socialism hasn't worked is because it hasn't been done well. Well, I grew up quite literally in 3 countries where it was tested, right? Chile, we had a socialist uh, guy who was overthrown. And again, you can say, okay, you didn't give him a chance to test. Yeah, but I'm an economist. I have a master's degree in economics, and I know that Salvador Allende, although I really respect him as essentially like a martyr, a political martyr, he would have ruined the economy, and be replaced fairly quickly in a democratic system. So it was unfortunate that they overthrew him. The Marxists in Mozambique just prolonged misery of their own people. And then, of course, Russia, which is the mothership, I saw it just rot from the inside. You know, it was a morally corrupt place, an economically corrupt place, and even the fact that it something that was a superpower, a global superpower, the source of lots of fear and investment in defense and all of that, that it was actually not even defeated militarily. It just fell apart from the inside. It was rotting from the inside. It went bankrupt. So, you know, I saw it. I saw that it's a reign of mediocrity and bureaucracy and corruption and oppression. Actually, when you start studying the documents that clearly show that the system leads to violence and death and misery. Um, you understand, as an entrepreneurial kind of guy, you go, I have no upward mobility here. Entrepreneurship is illegal, literally. Then on top of that, I actually read Karl Marx because I'm an economics major, so I write papers on him. So I experience it personally, and I study it intellectually, historically. And by the time I was in college, I was intensely anti-communist.